Yeah, so this is the first chapter, embedded system components, and second chapter is here. There's one line gap. So first chapter, I will share the textbook because the textbook is not available, maybe in PDF format. So I will share the textbook. I have that textbook. So in that, okay, from that textbook, chapter 1, 1.2 to 1.6 is module 3 first chapter, and chapter 2, that is 2.1 to 2.6, that is module 2, module 3 second chapter. Okay, we finished the first chapter, sorry, I completed first chapter yesterday. Okay, now why? Because it's completely theory and the basics you already know, right? What is embedded system and how it how it is different from general computing system, right? Your desktop or laptop. Then history of embedded system is completely theory. Classification of embedded system, we have done classification on based on 4 criteria, right? So based on the generation, there is first generation, second generation, third generation. So there are 4 types of classification. Okay, so within each classification, again there are different types of embedded system. Then major application areas of embedded system. Where exactly we are going to apply embedded system? So one thing I told you, it is inevitable to do anything without embedded system nowadays. So every day-to-day life, it is embedded system has a vital role. Right, everywhere you see your digital watches, your calculator itself is an embedded system. Okay, so any electronic gadget you see or any mechanical devices which have electronic part to manage it, all are embedded systems. Okay, including your calling bell, right? So so that's a major application area. Then purpose of the embedded system, we have studied various purpose of the embedded system. So these questions can directly emerge in the question paper. Explain purpose of the embedded system, explain classification of embedded system. There are, I told you, classification done based on 4 different criteria. So they might specifically ask, explain classification of embedded system based on the generation. Then you have to explain first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation embedded system, how they are, and its properties, right? Then embedded systems are based on complexity and performance. Okay, one more classification. So there are small scale, medium scale, and large scale. Then two more types. Okay, one is based on the triggering, whether embedded systems are right, or whether they're triggered right based on some event or they are continuous active, right? Then again based on deterministic behavior. Okay, the one more classification. There are 2 types again, deterministic and non-deterministic embedded system. Whether embedded system takes decision right by itself or not. Okay, so this is about first chapter. Hardly it takes 30 minutes to understand, remember this chapter. Okay, if you have gone through once in exam, it takes only 30 minutes to read and understand it. Memorizing it is also very easy. Okay, but second chapter will come here. Today I will start first topic of the second chapter, which is core of the embedded system. Here, core of the embedded system. Then okay, how they have designed this? What is the core of the embedded? Basically, see, before here in this syllabus they have missed one topic that is very important. I will go through that topic first. How exactly embedded system looks like in terms of hardware and software in an engineering student perspective, right? Like, because we are not bothered about where it is going to use. Yeah, we are worrying. We should know about how where we are going to use that particular embedded system and all those things. But for an engineering student, we should know what is there inside embedded system and how it works. So when we look at the embedded system in perspective of studying it, okay, then your embedded system will have many components. Okay, now that components, embedded system will have a core. It will have memory, sensors, actuators. It will have embedded system software called embedded firmware, right? Then it will have communication interfaces, right? So second chapter explains nothing but all the internal components of the embedded system. So embedded, what is embedded system? Made up of multiple components which together serve a purpose. Okay, so here core of here second chapter, whole second chapter in module 3. Somebody Mike, Shalini Devi probably. Sorry, Shalini Devi. Yeah. So whole second chapter explains every component present in the a general embedded system, right? I told you embedded system are very specific. Okay, the components which are there in a calling bell will not be there in a micro oven. Okay, here we are studying in general what will be there in a micro controller, embedded system. All those parts are explained one by one in the second module. Okay, so that's why you can find out 10 to 12 topics. Okay, and so divided into 2.1 to 2.6. Okay, under chapter 2. So we'll see initially what is there in an Vijayananda Hegde. Please turn off your mic. So we'll see initially how exactly general embedded system looks like, what are the components are there. Then we start studying every component as per the syllabus. Okay, I hope you are clear with this. Okay, entire structure of the chapter 2. Okay, so I'll put it in slideshow. Okay, yeah. Now here, so we'll start from the typical embedded system. What is typical embedded system? A general embedded system, how exactly look like? We are giving a general example. We are not faced any particular embedded system like micro oven, refrigerator, car stereo. No, we have generally taken an example and how exactly it looks like. Okay, to study every embedded system it takes much time. So we study it generally. Okay. Okay. Here, yeah. So, okay, a typical embedded system is contains a single chip controller. See what this diagram explains to you various components that might present in that will be present will be there inside a embedded system. Very general concept. Okay, so there will be core. Okay, there will be core. What is core? So this is the electronic device inside the embedded system which takes care of all the activities, which collaborates all other components of the embedded system. It is like a brain. So now you might have understood it might be a processor, right? It should be a processor. Okay, we'll study about this core because it need not to be a processor directly. Okay, so there is a core which coordinates all other components of the embedded system and helps in the serving a specific purpose. Okay, so this is the core which makes decision, which reads the values, which trigger some components, or ultimately it integrates all working of all different components so that it can serve a purpose. Then we have memory. Here, right? We'll have memory because memory is required. Why? First of all, we have to store the software, embedded system software called embedded firmware. We have to store coding, right? Whatever the code we have done, that will be there in the memory. And even sometimes we require to store data, right? It depends. So when somebody press the calling bell, we don't have to store any data, right? Just we have to check whether button is pressed. If button is pressed, what speaker is activated. There is no need of storing data. But if you go for oven needs to store a data, maybe, right? A particular temperature, right? Oven has various configuration. A refrigerator need not to save a data unless it is a very sophisticated refrigerator. So these things, memory is required to two purpose. One is to store the firmware itself. I will call it as the firmware from here. Okay, the firmware is nothing but software inside the embedded system, which code, right, we have done to embedded system. Then our data can also be stored in the memory. Then we have communication interfaces. So what are the communication interfaces? This is related networking. Okay, the embedded system may need to communicate with other systems or user through networking, right? So there are, like for example, your modems, right? Your switches, okay, or your CCTV cameras, which you can see, right? What's happening in the home, you can see it in your mobile, right? Sitting anywhere. So in such embedded systems where it has to communicate to the outer world through networking, then we have communication interfaces. Okay, if it want to communicate directly to the user in front of it, it will have some other minimal interfaces for the user, like a screen or buttons. Okay, and then IO ports are there. Definitely input output ports are required because embedded system has to read something or has to deliver something, right? So for example, I'll go back to the alarm system where input port is connected to the switch, so that whenever a person presses the switch, that switch has pressed, that status has to be read by the embedded system. So that is the input port. And what is the output port? The speaker. So embedded system sends a particular voltage to that speaker, so that speaker gets activated, or a particular ringtone to the speaker. So input output ports, right? They have mentioned sensors. Okay, most of the time embedded system reads data from the real world using sensors. Okay, like a refrigerator, it will be there will be a sensor to check how much cold is there inside the refrigerator. So if it exceeds a particular level of cold, then it will turn off the refrigerator. If you go for micro oven, it will sense the temperature, isn't it? So there are a lot of things. Then actuators, okay, output ports, yeah, input ports and output ports. Output ports are nothing but which will actuators, which will get activated by sending some signals. Okay, when you send some signal, it gets activated. Your speaker, so you send voltage, it gets activated. Voltage and audio, it gets activated, isn't it? A motor, right? There will be motor. When you send some signal, it will start or stop. Okay. Similarly, heat generator coils inside your motor of your refrigerator. When cold is there up to particular level, if cold exceeds a particular level, that is sensed by a sensor, temperature sensor in the refrigerator. And when cold is too much, then refrigerator sends a signal to the motor. So motor activates, either it stops or it runs. So this is called actuator and sensor. Sensor are devices through which we can read different real world variables like temperature, sound, light, right, of different events. Actuators to which embedded system sends some signal and activates it, okay, in order to communicate with the external world. Sorry, that's not a communication, it is part of the embedded system, actuators, right? Here given there an LED bulb, if you send some signal to LED bulb, it glows, or there is a speaker, you can see, right? So these are the actuators. For example, when your micro oven time is up, it starts beeping, right? The beep sound, that is a speaker. And some other supporting integrated circuits and subsystems. Other some ICs, if it requires, if the embedded system is little bit sophisticated. So these are the typical embedded system. Now your whole chapter, that is remaining module 3, remaining parts of the module 3, or whole chapter 2 in the module 3, okay, where we are going to explain or study system 4. Okay, so here we are going to study system core, then we'll study memories, then we'll study various input output sensors, various sensors that is used to read input signals from external world. Then we study various actuators, we study various communication interfaces, and also we study firmware, okay, the software. All this one by one we'll study. So we'll start from the system core, okay. Okay, initially whatever I have explained till now, that's the PPT here. So we know the system core here, it can be a microprocessor or it can be a microcontroller, okay, and it can be a yeah. So if we can see this, okay. So this system core, it need not be a microprocessor itself. Okay, because like Intel or AMD, they are very sophisticated. It depends whether if a embedded system is very serves a very small specific purpose, then we can use only controller. Okay, we can use microprocessor as the system core or brain of the system, or a microcontroller, or FPGA, AACC, DSP, or SOC. Okay, we'll study all those things one by one here, system core. Okay, that's what he says here. So I'm explaining this diagram, okay, this diagram in next slides. That's what I explained till now. Okay, we can go through this again. So controller, right? It can be a microprocessor, microcontroller, FPGA, DSP, right? AACC, anything. Okay, it depends on what purpose the embedded system has been developed. Okay, you need not use microprocessor for every purpose, or you need not use microcontroller also. Okay. Then embedded system is about sensors here. See, embedded system are designed to regulate a physical variable. What is physical variable? External world variables like light, heat, temperature, weather, like AC controls it. So these physical variable, right? When embedded system controls the physical variable, or speaker, right? So so to manipulate the state of some devices by sending control signals, right? That's how it works. So that purpose there are input output ports. Okay. Again, to read input signals, it uses sensors, okay, or it takes help of end users who give input data to the embedded system using a button or any touch screen, those such things. Okay, for example, calling bell where end user presses a button, right? But if a refrigerator or micro oven uses the sensors to read the temperature. So that's why the entire embedded system is called as reactive system. What is reactive system? It reads the input, based on the input it reacts to it. If temperature is up to some level, it turns off the motor, right? If somebody presses the switch, the your calling bell turns on the ringtone. So it is basically it is reacting to some input we have embedded system has read. Okay. Even memory, right? Memory we require to hold the control algorithm, that's called firmware or embedded system software or embedded system firmware. Okay, firmware will be there, or even other some important configurations related to the circuits or any other devices. Okay, and again say input devices and output devices. They have given some example like input devices. It can be sensors. Sensors are there to read the external variables, physical variables like temperature, right, or light, all those things. Other than that, we can have input variable like keyboards, push buttons, right? You can see this push buttons are there. Keyboards will be there, like your calculator will have a keyboard, your digital watch will have a push button, right? Even output devices also, there will be LEDs, LCD displays, LED bulbs, LCD displays, right? So buzzers which make a beep sound. So those are there are a lot of output devices also available. Okay, this is a general explanation of your embedded system diagram. That is a typical embedded system here. This is not included in your syllabus, but you might get this in exam. Okay, now we will start from the system core. Okay, so we'll go to the system core. Yeah, core of the embedded system. First part of the embedded system we'll study today is the core of this embedded system. Now what is the core of the embedded system? It is the brain of the embedded system, which organizes, which integrates all other components so that it can serve a purpose. Okay, there will be, for example, calling bell, there will be speaker, right? There will be input switch when you, right? But that is the core of the embedded system, which wait a person to press the switch, and when switch is pressed, then only activates the speaker. Do you think the speaker automatically activates randomly sometime? Starts playing ringtone when calling, even though there is nobody pressed the calling bell, or even if somebody has pressed a switch, speaker keeps quiet? No. The who manages speaker work is to broadcast the sound or ringtone. Switch work is to connect to the just to identify that some person is wanted to knock the door. So now it is organized by the core of the embedded system. So it waits input switch to be pressed, then it activates the speaker. So similarly, your refrigerator, micro oven, car stereo system, right? There are, when you increase the volume of a car stereo system, it is the brain or core of the embedded system which reads and understands that user want to increase volume, and then it increases the volume of the speaker. So this is how core works. Okay, core is the brain, and also it collaborates various parts of the embedded system. Okay, and serves the particular purpose. Now embedded systems are domain and application specific. Is very important, right? A domain or application specific, right? There is no general embedded system, right? There is an embedded system in the ICU like BP monitoring. You cannot bring it in keep it in the kitchen, right? That is different. Kitchen where a refrigerator is used, it is a completely different embedded system. Okay, unlike your laptop or a desktop which can be used for any purpose. Okay, this cannot be used for any purpose. There are specific purpose. There is specific application for embedded system, right? So built around a central core. So they are built around a central core. Okay, so core will have code or it executes all entire component, all the components of embedded system. Okay, and serve the purpose to which it is developed, that application or domain. Okay, then what is exactly core? Right? What is exactly a core?
God.
Okay, so core andre enu andre, see the core has to read various input, it has to adjust various output, it has to decide what must be the output, which component must be activated, right? It must to think. So core can be a plug or switch, core can be a speaker. No, core has more, should have more capacity. It should think, right? It should make decision. So core must be either of these four concepts, right? A core can be a microprocessor, a core can be a microcontroller, or core can be a DSP. Okay, so these three concepts are we can categorize under general purpose or domain specific purpose processors. Okay, general a microprocessor can be general, like your Intel which you use in laptop or desktop, you can use in embedded system also. It becomes little bit costly. But still you can code it. Okay, you can code something in that microprocessor, so it does a particular application. Okay, so instead of making it general, we only use only those codes, okay, which serve a particular purpose. Or you can have a microcontrollers. Okay, we'll study what is the difference between these two. Microcontrollers. So why microcontrollers? Microcontrollers are very cheaper compared to microprocessor, and unlike microprocessor, they are not very general. Okay, they are not very general, and they are not developed for a specific purpose. Okay, there will be microcontrollers. You have to buy it, and you can code it so that it works as per your instruction, and then you can place inside the embedded system. That means if you have a microcontroller, the microcontroller inside which works as a core inside a refrigerator, maybe same microcontroller can work inside a micro oven as a core. The only thing is inside that the code we have written, that the instruction we have given will be different, right? Even for DSP, digital signal processing, we'll study about it, right? So these three things can be any of the either of these three things can be there inside any embedded system which works as a core. Okay, now it is categorized under general purpose or domain specific processors. Other than these three, okay, your embedded system can also have a ASIC instead of these three. Okay, you can have a embedded system which do not have microprocessor or microcontroller or DSP. It can have a ASIC called application specific integrated circuit. Okay, where there is a very less amount of code and more hardware. The circuit itself is designed. For example, your logic gates. I'm telling you a very simple minimal example. Have you designed a logic many logic gates in circuits in your logic design lab, LD lab last semester? Yeah, when you design, right, there are various. So you have done a multiplexer, isn't it? You designed a multiplexer. So see, that is a circuit. Do you think you used any microcontroller or microprocessor inside that program? No, you just used the IC, multiplexer IC, and designed a circuit so that whenever a particular input is given, output will be generated. Okay, so there is no controller processor, but it serves a particular application, right? When you send some data, it gives some output, isn't it? Similarly, you did a JK master slave flip flop. You give input and it produces output. It's a circuit without microprocessor or microcontroller or DSP, right? So you can have application specific integrated circuits, ICs, okay, other than these general purpose concepts. Then we can have PLDs and commercial off the shelf components. Okay, we'll study all this one by one. Out of these four things, anything can be there inside embedded system which can work as a core. Okay, it depends on your which kind of application embedded system you are developing, how complex it is, right? Based on that, we'll select what should be there inside the embedded system which works as the head of the embedded system or core. Right? Okay, now we'll study one by one. See, I'm actually studying core of this embedded system. There are four different categories, right, which can be used as a core. We'll study everything one by one. Okay, so don't lose the concept of how the entire chapter is organized. Okay, so core now is four concepts study marte. So general purpose domain specific processors. We know that what is microprocessor. Okay, you go through this theory, you know already what is microprocessor. We have studied in computer organization as well as first two modules of this right course. So microprocessor, then we have discussed various microprocessor developed in various years, the history. Okay, so this is about microprocessor. Or if it is not a microprocessor, we can have a microcontroller as well, correct? No, as a core. So microcontroller is nothing but a little bit lesser capacity than microprocessor. If microprocessor costs 15,000, 20,000, like Intel or AMD or your Motorola, microcontroller costs only 100 rupees or 200 rupees. Okay, so microcontroller is very cheaper. Okay, and it can be coded. It comes with general design. You bring a microcontroller. You cannot ask in the market, give me a microcontroller to design a calling bell, give me a microcontroller to design a micro oven. No, you just ask, give me microcontroller, bring it and you code it. You write the program for it so that it works for a ring calling bell, or it works for a micro oven or refrigerator. So that's how microcontroller. So these are highly integrated chip, okay, which has almost all the parts of the microprocessor, but in a little less capacity. Like it will have a RAM, a CPU, flash memory, input outputs, everything will be there. Okay, so you can have a microcontroller as well, right, which works as a core if you are not intended to use microprocessor, which is a little bit sophisticated. Again, his history is given in various years, which kind of microcontrollers were there in the market. Okay, you go through it again, because if they ask in the exam, you need some theory to write. Right now, it is a very important part of this course concept is difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. We can use anything, no? We can go for microprocessor or microcontroller based on the embedded system. Now, what is the difference between microprocessor and microcontroller? So this is the difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. Okay, they'll get you ask for this question for 6 or 5, 6, 8 marks. Okay, difference between microcontroller as well as microprocessor. Okay, I hope you have gone through these differences in the first chapter of the first module, right? When you started studying ARM processor, whatever. Okay, so I'll go roughly quickly go through this microprocessor and microcontroller differences. Okay, microprocessors are little bit sophisticated. Okay, it will not. We cannot say this clearly, but still most of the time it will not have. It does not have RAM or ROM and IO pins. Okay, there will be no pins. There will be ports. Okay, in microprocessor there will be ports, input port, output port. But microcontroller is little bit less sophisticated, so it will have pins, input, output pins, right? Then yeah, bus interface will be there. There will be RAM and ROM and other devices. Like you can connect input devices. There are various devices you can connect to the input output devices. We can connect to the microprocessor. Okay, but through interfaces, right? You might have seen USB. It is an interface. Have you studied in computer organization interfaces? Like USB is the interfaces, right? PCA bus. There are various bus and interfaces. Whereas microcontroller, there is no right bus to connect external devices. Okay, there will be a bus inside the you see internal, right? Controlling bus is internal. Okay, inside the controller various components are connected through bus, but to outside we cannot connect anything to the microcontroller using a bus. Outside devices that we have to connect through the pins. Okay, yeah, so microprocessors are made for bigger general purpose, like to use it in a laptop or desktop thing, very highly sophisticated. But microcontrollers are not, I cannot say it's exactly dedicated applications. Okay, but you can bring a microcontroller and easily code it and make it a dedicated controller to serve some purpose in the embedded system. Okay, then microprocessor, it do not bother about power consumption, like your laptop or a desktop. Nobody cares, right? When you buy a refrigerator, there will be 3-star, 4-star, 5-star about power consumption, right? Micro oven. But when you buy a laptop, do you ask how much power it consumes? When you buy a desktop, do you ask how much power it consumes? You never ask about it, because they are not. There is no. They have not bothered it when designing the microprocessor, because designed for very big general purpose. For microcontrollers, while designing, they have taken utmost care to consume less power. Okay, so they have power saving system. Okay, why? Because microcontrollers are used in the embedded system, right? Embedded system have a limited power source. Now most of the example we give, we connect it, right? Your refrigerator or micro oven, we connect it to direct domestic current, right? AC. Okay, no problem. But your calling bell, there will be, how calling bell works? There will be a battery cell, right? Small battery cell. So they must worry that if there is a calling bell where you have to change battery cell every week, do you really purchase that calling bell? No. So they have to, when embedded systems, microcontrollers are most of the time used in the embedded system. Most of the embedded systems have a limited power source. In your car system, that your car is turned off, and if you play music for 30 minutes and your car battery drains out, how do you start a car? So there's a thing. If your remote system, that there is a small cell inside it, your watch, your calculator, look at all your mobile phones, all battery or power are very limited. So that's why microcontrollers are while designing have taken utmost care to save the power. Overall cost of microprocessor is very high. Cost of the micro is very high. A lot of components are included in the microprocessor. It serves a bigger general purpose. But microcontroller cost is very less, very less when compared to microprocessor. Your microprocessor cost is 15,000, then microcontroller cost can be 150 rupees. Okay, not 50,500. It's just 150 rupees. Processing speed is very high in micro here. It is above 1 gigahertz. I hope you know what is the speed and what is the meaning of 1 gigahertz, right? But microcontroller is very limited. It's in megahertz, 8 megahertz to 50 megahertz microcontroller. Okay, and even about the architecture, microprocessors are developed on von Neumann architecture, where microcontrollers are developed on Harvard architecture. Okay, so these are the main concepts. There are a lot more difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. I hope you can go through this. Okay, then next one is yeah. So we till now we have studied here microprocessor, microcontroller, and also difference. Then one more component which can be used as the core of the embedded system, if you don't wish to use microcontroller or microprocessor, is DSP, digital signal processing. So what are DSPs? See, these are the fixed, already designed circuits. Okay, which it's just like a microprocessor or microcontroller. Okay, which process various input and create some output. But DSP is generally okay. They are designed to work on signals, digital signal processing, signals. Now, what is a signal? See, when you have something with you, it is called data. You have something with you, it is called data. And but when you want to share that data, you want to send that data to a particular destination, we use networking concept, isn't it? So through networks, we send data from one place to another place, to a bus or through a network. When you send data, how actual data transfer? See, data in the your memory will be in binary, right? But when data is sent, has to be sent to some other destination, that binary data is sent as a electronic signal, right? Through bus irbodu, right? Buses you have studied, no? Various buses, PCA bus irbodu, SCSA bus you have studied. So when there is a networking concept and data has to be transferred from one place to another place, the data will transfer to the signal. So one place data will be there in binary format, which has to be transferred to electric signal. At the destination, when signal is received, you have to transfer it back to the binary format. And in between, you have to take care that the signal, electric signal, is passes through the network, right, directly to the destination without any problem. So this is called signal processing. Okay, and most of the time the DSPs works on your audio, video, or any data that has to be transferred. Okay, most it basically works on analog signals like audio, video. Okay, where there is a signal which has to be right or stored as a data. Okay, that signals. So in that purpose, we can use digital signal processing. For example, your telephone. I'm not talking about mobile. Your telephone, right? With telephone we talk and it reach, right? We talk between two destinations. There it is required. DSP is required there. Okay. Your CCTV. CCTV you place it in home. You see somewhere, right? In your mobile, through mobile you can watch that CCTV somewhere. There is a digital signal processors. Okay. So these are basically works on your audio, video, or other communication application. So it is nothing but based on networks. Okay. When embedded system has to interface with the networking, then we can use DSPs instead of microcontroller, microprocessor. Okay, there is concepts which you can understand. There are some concepts which you can understand here. Okay, you can read it. What are there in the DSP? DSP will have a program, right? It will have anyhow. You need to have a program or firmware. Okay, algorithm which works on the signals, digital signals. Okay, for processing. Now DSPs are very faster, because with only right, its purpose is to process the signals. Okay, unlike your microcontroller or microprocessor, which works on general purpose here. The DSP is very fast. There will be separate algorithms so that the hardware can execute very quickly. Okay. Then also say DSP will have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division units like ALU. Okay. The entire concept digital signal processing is a separate course for electronics and communication students. You can ask your friends what exactly DSP is. Okay, there are four main concepts or components of a DSP they have discussed here. It will have a program memory, it will have a data memory, because signals we have to store and then process. So program memory where we store code, then it will have data memory where we will store various properties of signals, then computational engine, right, the hardware which process things on, right, process the signals, right, then IO units, right, to connect input and output, to send the signal into the DSP, and once it is processed we can send back to someone through output port. Okay, so here there is a concept, they have explained some diagrams which is definitely not required, just for understanding purpose we are given. Okay, so now next concept here we have discussed is about RISC versus CISC computers. I hope again you have gone through this in the first module itself when you started studying ARM. Okay, where we had what is RISC and CISC machine, right? I told you ARM is neither a RISC machine nor CISC machine. It's somewhere in between, but we call it as a RISC machine, right? ARM itself, what is the full form of ARM? ARM, Advanced RISC Machine. It is not a pure RISC machine, it is Advanced RISC Machine. So what is RISC and CISC processors, right? Whenever we have to use microcontroller or microprocessor inside a or DSP inside a embedded system as a core, right, to take in charge of entire embedded system, so we have to discuss whether it should be RISC or CISC. Okay, the difference is here. You can go through this. Okay, RISC and CISC differences. So one thing is, as name itself explains, CISC means complex instruction set computers. Complex instruction set computer means it will have very large amount of instructions. Okay, all instructions are very complex. Reduced instruction set computers, okay, which will have very less number of instructions, like your ARM. Okay, and the instructions are very clear. Okay, small instructions. So there is here they have discussed 7 to 8 differences between RISC and CISC machine. We have discussed this in module 2 when I started, but again you can go through and you can remember this. They might ask in the exam. Okay, the next concept is Harvard or von Neumann, right? I told you, right, whether the core, right, we present here, it can be developed based on a Harvard architecture or von Neumann architecture. Okay, basically your processor works on von Neumann architecture, where microcontrollers works on Harvard architecture. Microprocessor works on von Neumann architecture. You have studied this because von Neumann architecture, Harvard architecture before, but there is some differences here. Mainly Harvard architecture concentrates on the memory, and von Neumann architecture concentrates on input output. According to von Neumann architecture, computer which receives the input, then it processes something and sends output to the user. Input, process, output. That is von Neumann. But Harvard architecture concentrates on memory. Right? It says that there is a separate memory for program as well as there is a separate memory for data. But von Neumann architecture says memory is simple, single. Right? That's why we studied when studying ARM or in my computer organization, when you studied Motorola or Intel, there was a single memory. Data nu alle store ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ, program alle store ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. So there is some differences they have discussed here in von Neumann and Harvard architecture. Again, it is a very basic concept. You can go through it. This difference is also very important. So next concept is about big endian and little endian. Right? When you discuss microcontroller or microprocessor, which one should be there in the as a core of the embedded system? So you can select based on the endian format also. Big endian, little endian. This is what is big endian, little endian. When you store a data inside a memory, how it will get stored, right? Whether lower order stores in the lower address or higher order of the data stores in the higher order, so the lower order. So this is how, so in little endian, see byte 0 stores at lower address, 0, 1, 2, 3. For example, these are the address, right? 2000, sorry, 20,000, 20,001, 22, 20,003, which is a lower order address. 20,000 is lower. So byte 0 is a lower byte. Byte 1 is a higher byte. Byte 2 is further higher. Byte 3 is the highest most byte. So lower byte stores at lower address is called little endian, whereas higher byte, byte 3, stores at lower address. If higher byte stores at lower address, it is called big endian. Means whether little end gets stored first or big end, right? This is big end, see byte 3, this is big end stores first. Here little end stores first, byte 0 stores first. So this is called little endian and big endian. There is a separate concept I have discussed about little endian and big endian in computer organization course. The videos are there in YouTube. You can watch that. Okay. So based on this also we can select. Then one more concept they have discussed about microprocessor and microcontroller, which can be worked as a core of the embedded system. where about load store operation and instruction pipelining. Now what is load store operations? I have explained you ARM is a load store architecture or load store processor. What is that? Unlike your microprocessor or some other microcontrollers, um, there are some architectures like either it may be microprocessor or microcontroller, okay, which have load store architecture. It means every instruction you can process on registers. Any instruction is there, you can apply that instruction on data present in register. No instructions are allowed to make any operation on memory. Okay, so only two instructions are allowed to make operation on memory, that is load instruction to load the memory data into the register, and store instruction to store the result of the register into the memory. All other operations you have to do on the register itself. So if there is a data in the memory and you want to operate, you have to load that data into the register, then finally store the result. So only load store instructions are allowed to access the memory. All other operations are allowed only to work on register data. So that's called load store operation. So there is a separate advantage of using load store architecture devices as core of the embedded system. Okay, because load store architecture has separate advantages. So here they have given some example how load store works. So there is a register 1 R1, the register 2 R2, right? Okay, and memory is from memory address X and Y. Okay, so there is a memory X and Y. We have to load X and Y, then we have to add X and Y and store it in the address Z. Okay, so how we load X into R1, then we load Y into R2, then we apply addition operation on register R1 and R2 and store that data in R3. Now R3 is the sum of X plus Y, that we will store into Z. So we didn't directly apply addition instruction on X and Y, instead we loaded that into R1 and R2 and applied. This is how load store works. Okay. Then what is pipelining? See, load store operation and instruction pipelining. So pipelining also we have studied. So there will be different stages in the processor or microcontroller on operations, how exactly gets operated. So most common pipelining concept is 3-stage pipeline. 3-stage pipeline in the sense, initially we have to fetch the instruction and data required to operate that instruction. Then we decode that instruction and understand what operation we have to do, and we understand which data we have to operate on. Then we execute that instruction. Right? This is 3-stage pipelining. Okay. Here they have discussed pipelining, what is pipelining, how exactly it works, how we can increase performance. Okay. This is we have gone through already in previous module also. Okay. Then application specific integrated circuits. Okay. So now what application process integrated circuits? So these are not general purpose, like you bring a microprocessor, write some program so that it works as the core of an embedded system, or microcontroller, you can get a microcontroller and change write some code to it, or you can get a DSP. Okay, if your embedded system has more signal processing, then you can use a DSP. Other than that, I'll go back here. We are discussing what is the core of the embedded system, right? So here in the core we discuss these three concepts: microprocessor, microcontroller, digital signal processing, and various concepts of these three. Okay. Now there are 3 more concepts which we can use as core of the embedded system. Okay. So these 3 concepts we will discuss tomorrow. Okay, in my next class.